The year is 1518, Strasbourg. The air hung thick and heavy with the stench of unwashed bodies and the ever-present threat of fever. But something far stranger was brewing. Elizabeth, a woman plagued by a despair she couldn't name, started it. On a sweltering July morning, she began to dance. Just a small, shuffling step at first, then a frantic jig that sweat plastered her thin dress to her skeletal frame. "Mother, stop it. You'll collapse," her daughter Gretchen pleaded, tugging at Elizabeth's sleeve. But Elizabeth's eyes were vacant, fixed on some unseen horizon. More followed. First a handful, then dozens, spinning and twirling in the narrow, cobbled streets. Their faces, a macabre mask of exhaustion and ecstasy drawn tight against their skulls. "It's the devil's work," old Father Thomas declared, clutching his rosary. "We must pray, we must repent." But the prayers did nothing. The dancing intensified. People collapsed, foaming at the mouth, their hearts giving way. Still more joined the throng, drawn by some irresistible infernal rhythm. Gretchen watched in horror as her best friend, Anna, was pulled into the dance. "Anna! No!" she screamed, but Anna's glazed eyes didn't register her presence. Days turned into weeks. The authorities, desperate to control the situation, erected stages, hired musicians, believing that encouraging the dance would somehow abate it. They were wrong. The music only fueled the frenzy. One evening, amidst the chaos, Gretchen heard a whisper. A hunched figure cloaked in shadows pulled her aside. "They say it started with Elizabeth, but they're wrong. He started it." "He? Who?" Gretchen asked, fear tightening her throat. The figure pointed towards the town square. "The piper. He visits every year around this time, plays a melody only certain ears can hear. Those filled with despair." Gretchen scanned the square. Amidst the swirling dancers, a figure stood motionless, a long wooden pipe held loosely in his hand. He wasn't playing. He was watching. She remembered the despair that had haunted her mother since her father died, and a horrifying realization dawned. The dancing wasn't the plague. The despair was. Gretchen screamed, pushing through the dancers, desperately trying to reach her mother. "Mother, listen to me. It's the despair. Fight it. Remember, Father." Elizabeth's eyes flickered. A single tear traced a path down her gaunt cheek. The dancing faltered, just for a moment. Then the piper raised his pipe. A haunting melody, a siren's call of utter hopelessness, filled the square. Elizabeth's eyes glazed over once more, and she threw herself back into the dance, her movements more frantic, more desperate than ever before. The twist. The plague wasn't a supernatural curse or a punishment from God. It was a carefully orchestrated performance. A performance orchestrated not by a literal piper, but by a collective societal despair. The piper was just a man, but the idea of the piper, the embodiment of crushing hopelessness, was the true conductor of this macabre dance of death. He was merely a catalyst, not the cause. The old farmhouse stood hunched against the bruised twilight sky, its windows like vacant eyes. Martha slammed the car door, the sound swallowed by the oppressive silence of Blackwood Creek. "Are you sure about this, Daniel?" Daniel, her husband, already lugging a suitcase, just grunted. "Cheaper than therapy. Fresh air. Besides, the realtor swore up and down it was rustic charm, not site of local legend. The local legend being the Blackwood Beast, a creature supposedly sighted near the creek, described as a dog-like thing, walking upright with razor teeth and a voice that could curdle milk. Inside, the house smelled of damp earth and decay. As darkness seeped in, weird noises intensified. Scratches, whispers from behind the walls. "Did you hear that?" Martha asked, clutching Daniel's arm. "Just the wind," he dismissed, though his face was pale. The noises escalated, bangs, growls, and then a chilling, guttural voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Get out!" They huddled together, petrified. Suddenly, the floorboards beneath Martha cracked. She screamed as the floor gave way, plunging her into the darkness below. Daniel, scrambling back from the gaping hole, peered down. "Martha, are you all right?" A strangled giggle echoed up. "Never better, darling. Join me." Then from the darkness crawled Martha, but not his Martha. This one was tall, lanky, with sharp teeth glinting in the dim light. It stood upright, its posture impossibly wrong. "We're the Blackwood Beast, Daniel," it rasped, the voice a twisted mockery of his wife's. "And we've been waiting for you." Daniel wasn't surprised. He smirked. "Took you long enough to find her. I knew she'd lure you out." He pulled out a hunting rifle and sighted it into the darkness of the hole. "She was always such a helpful distraction, but now it's time to bag me a trophy." It had all been a calculated plan to hunt the legendary monster and its strange obsession to human women. The real Martha never existed. She was just another woman, used, then sacrificed as bait. The old Victorian house groaned under a relentless October wind. Amelia, curled on the sofa with a book, jumped at every creak and rattle. Her husband, Ben, was away on a business trip, leaving her alone for the first time since they'd moved into Blackwood Manor, a place with more secrets than square feet. Suddenly, she heard it. A soft, almost childish giggle. It seemed to emanate from inside the walls. Amelia froze, holding her breath. Was it the wind playing tricks? "Hello," she called out, her voice trembling. Silence. Just the wind. She tried to convince herself she imagined it. Then the giggle came again. Louder this time, closer. Definitely from inside the walls, behind the old floral wallpaper in the living room. "Who's there?" she demanded, her heart hammering against her ribs. A scratchy, distorted voice replied, laced with mirth. "Just visiting, darling. Enjoying the ambiance." Panic flared. Amelia scrambled for her phone, fingers fumbling with the touchscreen. The giggling escalated, transforming into a manic cackle. "Oh, don't bother calling the police, sweetheart. They can't hear me. Yet." Amelia, paralyzed with fear, watched as the wallpaper began to bulge slightly. A hand, pale and impossibly thin, poked through. Then another. The giggling man, if that's what he was, slowly emerged from the wall, his body contorting unnaturally to fit through the impossible space. His eyes were wide and vacant, and his mouth stretched into a horrifying, silent grin. He raised a hand, beckoning her closer. "Come on, Amelia," he rasped, his voice still retaining the distorted giggle. "Let's play hide and seek. With your sanity." She screamed and backed away, tripping over a rug. As she fell, her head slammed against the fireplace. Everything went black. Please like and subscribe.